I'm Beth the Builder, and this week I'm gonna fix my fridge. So technically it's already fixed. I fixed it like before I even did my kitchen tile because it was a problem. But I recently did it again to my mom's fridge and it was the exact same problem, which makes me think, do people know about this? Because when I was looking it up initially, it didn't feel like I found the exact problem. And since it's happened to two fridges, I feel like maybe I'm onto something here. Okay, so the problem is the freezer builds up ice, which then eventually has to go somewhere. Otherwise your freezer would just be full of ice. But what's happening is that there's ice being built up, and instead of going where it needs to, it drips down the inside of the fridge into the fridge part and then out the bottom. And mine had been doing this for obviously a long time because it had seeped underneath those shitty tiles, if you remember those, before I redid my floor. And it had loosened a lot of the adhesive in this area, and the tiles had come up. At some point, I pulled my fridge out, did a little bit of searching. I didn't find this specific problem. So that's why I'm doing this for you guys, because maybe you've had a similar problem and you haven't found the exact solution. And I have, because now I've done it a couple different times. So, what you're gonna need is some kind of wire, okay? This is just an unbent part of a hanger and some kind of scrapey blade. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a tiny chisel or a paint scraper or something. I like to go with a screwdriver because you always got one with you. And then potentially you're gonna need a drill or a screwdriver to loosen the back of your fridge to get to the below where you can see the drip tray. But those are the three things you're gonna need: screwdrivers, some kind of wire, and then some kind of scrapey thing. Also a screwdriver, you know, double duty. You're probably gonna wanna remove stuff from your freezer. I have a cooler, I'm gonna throw everything in there. So I'm gonna do that, and then I can show you what you need to look for. So once your freezer's clear, sometimes you'll see a flat panel on the bottom with some screws in it, or it'll have a back panel. Mine has a back panel here. So I'm gonna take out the 4 screws that are in here, and then I can show you what's going on. Okay, so my back panel has some wires connected to it. There's one for the light, and then there's one for where the ice maker would be, and then this little fan. I just pulled it aside because I don't really need to disconnect all those wires. My mom's has a panel on the bottom that has a couple screws in it, and it just lifts out. And hers, I feel like this is a huge design flaw. It has this whole big like dip in the middle where it was just packed full of ice, like a 3/4 of an inch to an inch of ice. And then her back drain pan was full of ice. And then also like crud, like pieces of popsicles, or like, you know, it could be like peas or like something that's been lost in your freezer, and now it's blocking this back drain pan. And I'll get a better shot of all this stuff so that you guys can really see what you're looking for and what it should look like. So mine's not really full of ice at all because I cleaned this like a year ago. So there's a tray back here, and then there's an opening that drips behind your fridge to your drip tray. And my fridge is, I should have said this earlier, my fridge is older, it's an Amana, and my mom's fridge I'm pretty sure is, I'll have to double check, I'm not sure. But they're different models, different makes, so they're different refrigerators, but they have both the same problem, which is interesting. So what you're gonna wanna do is heat up some really, really hot water, and you wanna start, if you can break pieces away and just throw them in your sink, do that. But there's gonna be parts where you're gonna have to pour some hot water on it to really loosen it up. And that's where your flathead screwdriver is gonna come in handy. Okay, so you wanna unplug your refrigerator. That, I should have said that literally the first time. I'll put a card in and it'll say, unplug your friggin' refrigerator. So, once you get that front panel off, you can kind of start to like chip away that ice, but then this is where you're gonna really see that you've solved the problem. So most of them are gonna have a bottom panel, and you just have to take out some screws. everything has to have 17 screws in it. Okay. You're gonna find your drip tray. Mine is way in the back. It's difficult to see. My mom's is on the front, well, the back left, and there should be a drain pan, and then you'll be able to see like a little tube or some kind of opening up inside the bottom side of your fridge. And that's where water is going to drip from your freezer when it's going through cycles of kicking on and kicking off and maybe melting some of that ice that's in the back of it. And it's gonna drip into this drip pan, and then the heat from the motor evaporates it. It's not really that much water. But when that's not working, like something's stuck in that drain pan or stuck in the little tube, like the whole drain down the back of your fridge, that water doesn't have anywhere to go. So then it goes wherever it can, via inside your fridge and then out onto your floor. And then it just like hangs out there. And then in the mornings you might get up and be like, there's water here, what is going on? So I think most people would just jump to the conclusion that their fridge is broken and they have to replace it, or they need to pay like a really expensive repairman. And that might be the case. I don't know. I can't diagnose your problems, but I've done this twice now in 2 different refrigerators. I can't stress that enough. And it solved the problem. So I think if you can kind of diagnose these certain problems where you see a bunch of ice in your freezer, there's water on the floor, and everything is working in your fridge, you know, it's staying at constant temperature, etc. And it's not a crap load of water. I mean, it might be in your case, maybe there's another problem. But, you know, in both these cases, it's not a crap load of water, and it would be cyclical. Like, it would go through, like, sometimes there'd be water, and then no water. You'd wipe it up, and then you'd go, like, 2 days or so, and then there'd be nothing. You'd be like, okay, that's weird. So, you kind of start to see little patterns, and my mom literally explained, like, the exact same problem that we had. So, if I can find other pictures on the internet of this kind of diagram of like the drip pan and then the tube that comes down, I will put them up here just for other examples of what you're looking for. Again, I'm not a professional. I've just done this and it solved the problem, and I hope that like other people won't have to like search around for a stupid video, or, well, my video's not stupid, right? Search around for something of like, what is this problem? Hopefully it's actually, this is helpful to you and it solves your problem. So I will get a shot of this. Let's do that right now. Okay, so once you've scraped away all the obvious ice and you've taken that back panel off and you've located, okay, there's nothing visible. I mean, some of the tubes, little drain tubes, might be really long and kind of transparent and you could see something inside them. Mine's like, essentially, it's like a little nub and I can barely even get to it. I think what I ended up doing was jamming my pinky up inside of it because I have tiny hands, and seeing if I could, you know, see. If you had some really flexible wire, you could get that up in there. I really struggled with mine getting any kind of wire in there. My mom's, different story. I could jam a good foot or more of wire up in there. Obviously, be careful of that stuff. You don't want to actually puncture the sides of a tube or something. So mine doesn't really have much of any ice back here, but I'm gonna pour my hot water down there just so you can see. And I'm also gonna be filming on the back side of my fridge where you can see. You're gonna, magic, it's gonna be amazing. Okay, so you want something to pour your hot water. I like something with a spout on it. Got my crazy lot of hot water. I'm gonna go press play on my other camera. Make sure you've kind of removed any little pieces or like peas or corn, you know, frozen veggies, tiny little things, because you don't want them down your drain pan in the back, because that potentially is what is causing a problem. So you're gonna be able to hear it potentially if you're in your own kitchen, and it's a good sound. So I'm gonna start pouring this down here. And as you like melt the ice, you can, start to like pull other pieces away, but what you want to do is clear up that drain pan opening. Let me check, see what's going on over here. Okay, I can hear it, and there's water now dripping into my drain pan from here. And when I initially started doing this, I was pouring water down here and nothing's happening. There's no water going to that drain pan, which is a bad sign. It's not good. It should be able to get water from your freezer drain to the bottom drain pan. All right, so yeah, you can see the water dripping down there, and that is a good sign. That's what you want to see. It's pretty satisfying if you see like a chunk of something come out. That's what happened to me. It was just like I don't even know, a tiny crumb or some pieces of food or something. Kind of gross, but it's really satisfying to then, in the coming days, realize you've solved the problem. So if the front of your drip tray is really close to the front, you can use that wire and put either the wire up in there a little bit and just kind of see, or your finger. Just be careful. And yeah, if your fridge, if you've had your fridge for 10 years or something, that's a crap load of freezing and thawing and like opening the door and closing it and trying to do its job of keeping it at a constant temperature. Plus, any little bits of food, pieces of bacon, I don't know what's in your freezer. Some people's freezers are insane and they're packed full. So once you kind of do this, it's kind of something you shouldn't have to do for another, 5+ years. It really shouldn't be something you have to do consistently. It's definitely a cheap fix compared to like having to call somebody or having to replace your fridge, because that could be like thousands of dollars. Be careful with that wire. Like I've said a couple times, I really don't want people to like accidentally puncture something or crack. Just be aware. I would say just first and foremost, pull all that ice out and then use some hot water and pour it down there and just see what happens. If that like quick clears it out and then in the next couple days it keeps happening, it could be something else, okay? I don't know, but I know this problem was solved by this. So I couldn't believe that it was the exact same problem with my mom's. She's fought with that for a long time. So yeah, with just like some screwdrivers and maybe a little piece of wire and some hot water, you might have solved your problem, which is pretty satisfying, and maybe it cost you nothing versus having to call a repairman. And this is definitely a fix for like if you're not very handy, if you're intimidated by this stuff as a woman or even as a man, because I don't discriminate. People can be handy and also not handy, just like me. I'm defying stereotypes. And something also to look for is that it's not just water in the bottom of your fridge. You'll see water dripping from up top of your fridge. So it won't just be random water like nowhere else in your fridge or freezer. It'll be from kind of the top back dripping at certain points. You'll kind of hear it or see it or something. If it does fix your problem, leave me a comment, because I'd love that. Maybe I'm totally helping people because I a little bit know what I'm doing. Otherwise, you know the drill, all the things. Go and like and subscribe and check out my Patreon if you want to support me that way. Otherwise, yeah, like share this with somebody. Check out my Etsy shop, all the things that you could do. But otherwise, I just appreciate people watching and being encouraging and supportive in the things I'm doing. So thank you, and yeah, go poke around in your freezer. Maybe solve a problem. You see a bunch of ice in there and be like, maybe I should get rid of that. Start cracking away at ice. I'll have a new video next week, and thanks for watching!